Hello, welcome to Trews, True News. I'm the host of that show, or internet thing called that. I'm Russell. Subscribe here to the Trews to receive the Trews. It will emerge like a fractal, infinite spiral of wonder in your brain of a morning when you wake up. This is a comments edition where you get to communicate with me, I get to communicate with you, like a telephone or a letter. Papers, please. Explain to me, he says or she says, how this system can be correctly adjusted to favour the poor and working class without violence. Well, I think we have to all come together and focus on issues that are important to us. Say in your community you've noticed that you're paying too much rent or you're not represented financially correctly, like your house is getting foreclosed. Or say when you're at work, you think, hold on a minute, I don't like this job. I don't think I'm getting paid enough money. I'm working too many hours. Talk to other people that work where you work, other people who live where you live, formulate communities, and we can be represented together. Act on a local level to form communities and collectivise, and then globally we can form an agenda together where we can protect one another. Urination. The truth that nobody has the guts or decency to admit. You cannot trust the poor with money. They'll just spend it on frivolous things and non-essentials, then whinge they don't have any money for food and heating. Yuri? Now, what you've said there is what it mean. Nobody has the guts or decency to admit. Why haven't you got the guts or decency to admit you cannot trust the poor with money? How do we know that they're poor? They've got no money. Let's give them some and let's see what happens. I don't think that what you're doing there, Yuri, is you're making a common mistake by associating poverty with morality. That's a meritocratic ideology you're inadvertently deploying there, that people that are in difficult situations deserve to be in difficult situations and we don't have to deal with them being in a difficult situation. Yuri, I urge you not to think like that for too much longer, because as we judge others, surely we will be judged. So we've got to look inside ourselves, find love, glory, and a connection to the infinite, and then things will be a lot better. Telio Teague Williams. Minimum wage just increases inflation, which harms the poor more than the rich. Go for a maximum. He puts that word in capitals, or she. Maximum wage. It encourages people with financial ties in government to make living affordable on a lower income. That's interesting. I think any way that we can tie together the financial and economic destinies of the lower paid people and higher paid people, I think is a very positive thing. I think it will create aggregation. So certainly there should be a minimum wage increase, but a maximum wage, that would be interesting as well. But what about you, Russell? Would that apply to you? No, it wouldn't apply to me. I'd be able to do what I wanted in this new system. I'm saying all this stuff without possibly considering that it could at some point affect me. Coroxian. But at the same time, why is he saying that as if he's been talking to me for ages? I've never heard from Coroxian before. Coroxian, who in his image has got a tarantula crawling up his arm, says, but at the same time, there'd have to be certain concentrations of wealth in order to get things done, like making skyscrapers or mass-producing medicine or funding research, etc. There are economic systems and systems of distribution and architecture that we have not even yet dreamed of, or I haven't, because I'm not an architect or designer of economic systems, but there are alternatives, mate, that exist entirely outside of the paradigm that we're currently using. Look into it, because I don't think you need to build buildings in the way that you do, or produce medicine in the way you do, because all of these things are incentivized through a capitalist filter and lens. For example, like the health industry is governed by economic interests. So, like you hear all the time, don't you, that different cancer drugs are available, but they suppress them because then they're not economically viable, or that vaccines for other diseases come about and they don't popularise them because there's no profit in it. So, in a way, we'll be dealing with an entirely different paradigm, mate. So you don't need to worry about that stuff. Lee Nolan. Do we really need more jobs? I personally think we should replace human labour with technology, which is the case in many organisations now anyway, so that we have the time to do what we want to do, learn and grow and all that jazz. I agree with you, Lee Nolan. Like, when are these robots going to get off their fat asses and start doing our work for us so we can laze around and have more picnics? When are our washing machines going to reduce our labour? My washing machine actually makes me do more stuff sometimes. You're right. Technology has been enhanced and increasing and growing, but we're not yet seeing the benefits. Why is that? Why are we living under a kind of sort of like some sort of voluntary slavery where we're working all the time? I suppose it's because if we did have more leisure time, then we'd have more time to think and things would sort of alter. I think you're right though, Lee. We could be working a lot less if we utilised technology differently and if we had fairer economic systems. Percival Kelly. Good day, Russell. I've both read and watched the Guardian interview with John Lydon today. Apart from being a masterclass in disparaging belligerence, there seemed little else going for it. I thought perhaps it would send out a strong message if you responded directly to that interview in one of your excellent Trews episodes. Long live the revolution. John Lydon, for me, is a great cultural figure. I adore the Sex Pistols, I adore his music, and I adore him as a character. I think he said, like I said, telling people not to vote will lead to this, that, and the other. That's a popular misconception. What I said is there's nothing worth voting for. That's why I don't vote. If there was something worth voting for, I'd vote for it, and I'd certainly encourage other people, if they think that there's a political party that represents their views, if they think there's politicians out there that are speaking on their behalf, by all means vote for them. But say UKIP, for example, a political party funded by just one millionaire, fronted by one public school boy, ex-banker, do you really think that's a genuine alternative? And when considering like the immigrants are the fulcrum of our social problems, was it immigrants that caused the stock market crash in 2007, 2008? Is it immigrants that are awarding themselves great big bonuses? Is it immigrants that are lobbying across the United States and privately funding the Conservative Party? No, it isn't. It's financial economic elites and corporate entities. There is no political party that is prepared to take them on. And as soon as there is one, I would vote for it, and I would urge you to vote for it as well. But it's difficult to create those kind of political party because of global trade agreements prevent that kind of thing happening at a national level, so it's a complicated issue, and I can see why John Lydon might have struggled to get that into a tiny little interview, particularly when he's got to promote a show about bugs. Paul Mulligan, have you been on Young Turks yet? Why not? Sort it out. I have been on. I like Cenk. He's a good bloke, and I'm going to go on it more. We have much to learn from the Young Turks as the Trews continues to grow and expand, and we invite you to create your own version of the Trews. Send it to us, we'll judge it, and we'll expand and become an evil global corporate entity. Dalek Hybrid. Succession of the plebs. Everyone, put your tools down and stop working. Turn away from your creature comforts and learn to live off the land. See how smug the 1% will be when we realise we can live without money. How will they cope if we're not generating their wealth for them? The 1% are money addicts. The best way to treat an addict is to make them go cold turkey, deprive the elites of their money, and see how quickly they come around to our way of thinking. It worked for the Romans. I like that, mate. That's an interesting way of approaching it. We need to have a more integrated system for living. We've forgotten how to live like ordinary people. We don't know how to integrate with the nature that we are in fact part of. We don't know how to grow food. I wouldn't know. If you dropped me off in a forest, I'd be probably dead within 15 minutes. Right, Russell, there's an infinite supply of food. Bear Grylls while he's setting fire to a tampon and cooking a fucking ladybird. Russell, we've only just got off of the helicopter. So, you make an interesting point. I heard this story about these great big bully boy ants that had tyrannised these little ants to work for them. One day the little ants said, "We don't want to do this no more," and turned against the big ants, and the big ants had become hopeless. I don't know if it's a fairy story or actual nature. Let's look it up on the internet before using it as an analogy for change. Debase, free. How the hell do you participate in alternative economic systems? Trade my goat for some groceries? I doubt they'll accept my goat. I'll accept your goat. This is Russell Brand. This is the Trews. That's true news you can trust. If you want to communicate with us, you know how to communicate with us. If we want to communicate with you, we'll do Trews. True news. Subscribe here.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.